What's up, everybody? It's me, Nadia. I'm back in my favorite playground, which is the kitchen. And today I'm going to be making pizzas. And I say pizza plural because I'm going to do some little personal size pizzas. It's just two of us eating tonight. And I hope that my daughter, who's here tonight, will like it because they're not going to be traditional pizzas. By that I mean there's not going to be any meat on them. They're going to be loaded with non-traditional pizza vegetables and yeah, some other little fun ingredients. So I hope I like it. I hope she likes it. I hope you like it. So let's get started. We're going to get started on our kale first. I've washed the kale and I have removed the stems because they're really tough and they're not fun to eat. I'm also going to chop up a couple of cloves of garlic. Next, let's get started on this kale. So I have some olive oil. Like that. I'm gonna add the garlic in while the olive oil is still cold so that I won't burn this garlic. Get that started. And then we're just going to add the kale right into this pan with just a little bit of salt and a little black pepper. All right, kale is going in. Give that a mix. Add some salt, some pepper. And we're just going to let this cook down until it's nice and tender. And I actually like my vegetables to have a little bit of bite to it, so I won't cook these all the way until they're like mushy, but they will be tender. You want to make sure that you keep an eye on your kale because you don't want it to burn. So in my case, I actually added a little bit of water, not too much, but just a little bit of water. And that will also help it to cook a little faster with the steam. So I've been using my lid to keep it covered so that all the water and steam doesn't just come out and dry it out again. So just keep an eye on it so you don't burn it. Our kale is pretty much done. So it is tender, but it is not mushy. That's exactly how we want it. At this point, you can go ahead and preheat your oven to 475 degrees while we continue working on our pizza dough. While the kale is cooking, we're going to get started on our pizza dough. So I have 1 tablespoon of honey. I'm going to add that to a cup of warm water, just like that. And I'm just mixing this so the honey can come on out of there. And 1 tablespoon of yeast. Just like that. And just gonna let that set up and proof until it gets a little bit bubbly up top. And that will be about 5 minutes. Now on to our flour. So I have 1 cup of white flour, and I'm going to add a cup of wheat flour, actually about 1.5 cups. This recipe usually takes about 2 to 3 cups of flour, but I usually start with a little bit less than 3 cups because I can add in the flour as I need it once I'm starting to form my dough. And then 1 teaspoon of salt, and you'll just give this a mix. All right, so this is basically a wheat crust, not completely 100% wheat, because there was a little bit of white flour. So we can just set this aside until our yeast mixture is ready to be used. And this is what we're looking for from our yeast mixture. It's bubbly, foamy up top. We're just going to add this into a large bowl. Along with a tablespoon of oil. And I'm using olive oil. I have this, the last of my garlic infused olive oil. Add that straight in and give it a mix. And then you can start to incorporate the flour. Just a little bit at a time. This is a really, really simple pizza dough. You can roll it out as thick or as thin as you would like it. It's like really, really good to me. So hopefully you all like it. And also what I like about this pizza dough is there's only a 10-minute rise time. So you don't have to like pre-plan this whole process hours ahead of time. So once it gets to about this point, I'll switch over to a wooden spoon. And then continue incorporating in your flour. And you're going to keep going until it gets a little hard to turn into a bowl. And at this point, I will dump it out onto the counter. So make sure that your countertop is clean, which I already did before you guys were looking. I'm just getting all the bits out. You're going to knead this until all the flour is incorporated. You want the dough to be slightly sticky, not too dry. So that's why it's best to start out with less flour than you actually need, just so you don't use too much and then you're left with a dough that is very dry. And you can see it's very wet because it's sticking to my hand like a lot. So just slowly bring some flour in. Depending on how thin you roll out your pizza, you can do like a couple of personal size pizzas with this, or you can do, if you have one of those really big sheet pans, this will roll out to the whole sheet pan. I've done like a whole sheet pan pizza with just one serving or one recipe without doubling it or anything. So it still feels slightly sticky. Okay, just a little bit more in there. Okay, this is just a little bit more. It's like I poured out just the exact amount. So depending on the climate, you'll need more or less flour than I use. I use like 2 and maybe 2/3 cup of flour. All right, this looks pretty good. Oops, got an herb in there. All right, just like that. There's our dough. Slightly sticky, tacky, doesn't stick to my hands. And you just go ahead and place that into a bowl and set it aside for it to rise for about 10 minutes. All right, next we're gonna work on like our sauce element, which is like a creamy base that's gonna go underneath the kale or throughout the kale. And since we're not using a red sauce, this is not a red sauce pizza, this is gonna make the pizza not be so dry. So I started with a little bit of butter. I'm just gonna let that melt down. Basically making a roux. To that butter, I'm gonna add a little bit of flour, so I have some whole wheat flour, until it's like a paste. Like this. I probably could have used just a little bit more butter, but I don't want it to be like a fattening pizza. And this just kind of helps to, let me add just a little bit more butter. This helps to get it all incorporated when we add in our milk element. So that's how that looks. Now I have some milk, actually cashew milk that I heated up so that when it hits the pan it's not completely cold. So I'm just going to add a little bit at a time to get it incorporated before I just dump it in. This I find makes it easier to get fully incorporated. Like so. And I will more than likely need more than that as far as milk. So I'm going to heat up a little bit more milk. Alright, I'm going to add some more milk in here. So that flour helps to thicken everything up. So I'm just going to add a couple of seasonings to this. So remember, our kale has garlic in it. We're going to be adding our kale right into this mixture. So I'm not using too much, but this is some onion powder. And I'm going to use a little bit of garlic powder, even though we use fresh garlic in our kale. Of course, some salt. And you can taste this to see how much more salt it will need. And then I have some sprigs of thyme. You know how I feel about thyme. I love it. And I love like fresh thyme. Also gonna add just a little bit of dry basil. Now remember, when you use like dry herbs, I realize or recognize that they are a lot more stronger than your fresh herbs, so you can be generous with your fresh herbs, but be a little bit careful with your dry herbs because the flavor is a little more intense. I'm also gonna add just a pinch of nutmeg. So I've turned the heat off, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of, this is actually Swiss cheese, just because that's what I had in there and I don't want to waste it. So this is added to our creamy mixture. I turned the heat off. Alright, so that's that. Just give it a taste. If it needs salt, add some salt. If it needs pepper, add some pepper. And now we're just going to spoon this kale that we made earlier right in here. Just like that. Give it a nice mix. Just like that. So there's our, like, it's almost like a creamed kale. Alright, so now we're going to work on our actual pizza and rolling out our pizza dough. So I usually start, let me bring this here, I get some olive oil and I put some garlic salt in there because you don't want your crust to be bland. You want the good garlicky flavor all throughout. So I take that and mix that in, and then you can actually oil the bottom, or you can use parchment paper. I usually have some, but I ran out and I wasn't planning in advance for pizza making, so I'm just gonna put it right on the bottom of the pan here. Alright, and we're gonna work on our pizza. So you don't need a lot of flour, just enough so it doesn't stick. Go ahead and divide this. Grab a knife here. So I divided it in quarters. So I like a hand pressed pizza. So take your pan and you're just going to press it out. So the first pizza I'm going to do is the creamed kale. So that's going to be on the bottom. Whoops, and before I finish doing that, I do usually brush the edges with our little garlicky olive oil so it can brown up really nice and have like a flavorful crust like they do at the pizza joint. So just go around it like that. Okay, there we go. Alright. Spoon your kale mixture. It smells really good. be nice and thick up top. Yeah, a little bit. I might actually make a couple more, and then I can pop them after they're cooked. I can pop them in the freezer and then just warm it up. Yum. Okay, so that's the kale. And I'm going to sprinkle it with some mozzarella. The great thing about what I like about pizza is you can, like, you know, sometimes you want like extra cheese or no, or little cheese. Like my husband likes heavy sauce, light cheese. I like lots of cheese. So I have mozzarella and I have some Parmesan. So that one's pretty simple. The next one, I'm getting a little creative. So the next one is going to be this hummus that I made. I will put a link of the roasted red pepper hummus that I made. I know, not traditional at all. So I'm just going to spoon hummus on the bottom, like so. This hummus is so good too. I have like a couple of crazy things I'm going to put on here. Just like that. Alright, also roasted up some broccoli. So I'm going to put that on here. Again, when you make your own pizza, you can do it however you like it. Just make sure everything is like evenly distributed. I cut the stem off of this one. Okay. Got broccoli on there. I have some roasted red peppers that I sliced up. I even have a little bit of cucumbers. I know that's not what you normally get. I have cucumbers on there and some cherry tomatoes. And I'm going to finish this pizza off with some feta cheese. So maybe this is something like a Greek pizza. I don't know. But in my mind, I feel like it's going to taste really good. I'm just crumbling it up. Alright, so there's our two pizzas. And we will see how it turns out. Yum! I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. And remember, the oven is at 475. So around the 10-minute mark or so, I'll check on the pizza just to see how it looks. Make sure it's not like burning the cheese or... And I think it looks pretty good. So I'm just going to give it just a little bit longer, like a tad bit longer, and then we're done. Now our pizzas are finished. They just came out of the oven. But remember, pizza is really, really hot. Like really hot. I've burned my tongue. So I would advise just to kind of like chill out for a second before you dig right in. Just to let it cool slightly. And let's give it a taste. So I've had mine cooled for just a moment. So we're going to cut into it. All right, so here goes the big reveal. I'm actually taking it a little bit further. I'm going to add some avocado slices on top of this pizza. All right. So we're going to go ahead and cut in. Bring it a little closer. I've let this cool because I have made the mistake of burning my tongue several times. Oops. So one. All this stuff out the way. And I may even drizzle some of the stuff out the way. Drizzle some balsamic vinegar on there, which I love. But let's give this a try. Bring you back. Which one should we try first? I'm gonna try the hummus because this is new. I've had spinach and kale pizza before. So here we go. See that? Yum. You see that steam coming up off? Probably don't. Let's give it a try. I know it looks hot and sweaty, but it was hot in here. Oh my goodness. You guys, that's really good. It doesn't even need anything else on it. Oh, I didn't get any avocado. So you would think, because it's not saucy, that it'll be dry, but the hummus is really good. Alright, I'm gonna take a bite of the spinach. I keep calling it spinach. Kale. Creamy kale. Let me give you a close up. Yum. Ooh. Still hot. This is really good. Alright, I'm gonna go get my daughter, see what she thinks. Alright, look who I got! My daughter! Mini-me. So, she's gonna try my pizzas and see what it is. Okay, so first, this one is kale, like creamy kale, so it's not traditional pizza. And then this one is hummus with a whole bunch of sauce. Yeah. Okay, I'll try. Are you gonna try my bitten up one?
So not?
No, you can. Okay. I'm still gonna eat another piece. It's hot. Be careful.
It was good. It's really good.
It's how you get your kids to eat vegetables. Sneak them in that pizza, even though she likes vegetables. So you like it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this one, I know you don't like tomatoes. Let me move those over. Who doesn't like tomatoes? Give you a little bit of avocado. There you go. Next, she's gonna try the hummus pizza.
What is that? Is this feta cheese?
Yep.
That one's my favorite, but this one's not bad.
You like it? You like it? It's not like a regular traditional pizza, but
it's very like healthy. I mean, both are, but especially this one.
Right, because it's not like regular sauce and a whole bunch of extra cheese.
Yeah.
And that's roasted garlic. I mean, excuse me, roasted broccoli. So I would say, all in all, after I've sweated through this meal, that it turned out really good. I'm happy. So we have personal pizzas that we'll probably end up splitting, but we can see she's going back for that kale. Hey. I know I look a hot mess, but I just wanted to reiterate. Guys, if you're not making your own pizzas, you're missing out because you can put whatever toppings on there. You can sneak vegetables in. You could just make it really fun and not traditional. So I gave you 2 different pizzas. Neither one of them had a traditional red sauce, but they're both really good. And you're gonna just feel so good about your stuff. You did your own pizza crust, you did your own toppings, and I mean it's healthier. So all in all, I would say this is a win. A win.